It is something that you do for fun, and you get to meet a lot of different different people from different walks of life, and you get together and you kind of share this experience of making music.
Life without music would be pretty boring.
Well, it just keeps your mind in gear, that's all, and it gives you other challenges. If you live a life without challenges or without failures, you don't live.
You know, I feel like not enough people know about the Bella Concert Hall here at MRU, and especially MRU students. I mean, we have a beautiful multi-million-dollar facility right across the parking lot, and us MRU students know nothing about it. I mean, I had the wonderful chance of performing with a group called Rev 52, and let me tell you, it is a beautiful stage. And I also had the chance to see Chris Hadfield and Ziggy Marley on that stage, and there are tons of cool acts coming up on the horizon. So head on down to the MRU events calendar, and then head on down to the Taylor Center for the Performing Arts, and check out the Bella Concert Hall, everybody.
I've been working at the Bella Concert Hall since before it opened. I work as part of the broader team here at Mount Royal University for its general technical theater services, essentially, is what I'm doing. So that's sound and lighting in these spaces. I got started at Mount Royal because I've been in the industry for long enough that I managed to get a nice connection and get on board here. And so started off as a casual technician, and then as responsibilities and events grew larger here, I came on board part-time.
So my position here is Event Experience Coordinator, which more or less is a venue coordinator. And I focus specifically on theaters, so the Leacock Theatre, the Wright Theatre, and then the Bella Concert Hall. And so the Bella Concert Hall is primarily in my portfolio, handling most of the conservatory events and the larger events that come through. Both acoustic in nature, amplified, keynotes, kind of as they come. I deal with them and vet them and handle them. So the Bella Concert Hall is built to be a world-class concert hall, and to specifically fill the mid-sized theater portfolio within the city, which has been missing for a long time, the 400 to 800 range, and the Bella Concert Hall seats at a maximum 787. Functionally, we could say about 751 when using the whole hall.
This space is very distinct acoustically, I'd say. It was designed to make classical music sound very rich and have a really long, full sort of decay to the sound, which means that it's fantastic for that. And it in particular is built to make cellos sound really good. So that always sounds beautiful, and we have that as well as choral events in here. We also do a lot of events that aren't classical, so things like amplified concerts or, you know, a presentation. And that becomes a little bit more interesting because we don't necessarily always want a very long sustain on those things. We have banners and panels all along the walls in this space and up in the ceiling as well. And I think there's 24 different sets of control that are on computerized motors, essentially. And we can put those, you know, all the way in, all the way out, halfway, wherever we want that's going to suit the music.
A lot of clients, as soon as they step inside the concert hall, they're just wowed by the architecture. A lot of the architecture is reminiscent of Alberta itself. So we have the acoustic shell, which sits right above the concert hall stage, which is in the shape of the wild rose. And then some of the green support beams that we have in there are reminiscent of the barns that dotted and continue to dot rural Alberta. And then we have just a lot of the colors, a lot of the tones in there are meant to evoke that. And so some of the things people say when they go into the concert hall for a first time viewing is kind of that. It reminds them of home. It's very inviting. It's very a comfortable place to be. A lot of the clients I'm booking range from Irish dance to Latin-based music to new music. A lot of stuff that a lot of people would consider weird, which I personally love, but that kind of realm. So no limit. We do have our academy pianists. Every Monday they spend up to 8 hours inside the concert hall working on both of our pianos. And they're extraordinary pianos, you know, quite expensive and quite quality as well. So we have a 10-foot Fazioli and we have a 9-foot Hamburg Steinway.
The sort of more exciting days, I suppose, are the ones where we have the actual events. And that would involve us coming in early and setting up a space, whether that's flying a projection screen so that we can have video for the event, or focusing lighting on where the performers will be, or setting up microphones for a concert, anything kind of in that range, and then rehearsing with the client and basically just being on the ball to make sure that whatever happens in the event, it's as well supported as it can be for the audience. By far the most impressive thing about this building is just how beautiful it is. And that's not to belittle anything else that it has. It's just every time that a client walks in, they go, wow. And for me as a technician working with clients and wanting them to have a good experience, when they have that initial moment of just feeling like they're part of something that's so beautiful to look at and so awe-inspiring, really, it just makes everyone's day better.
Style of drumming you can get involved in.
Can I pull the bocce out of my hand?
Now, I already know I've spent some time raving about the Bella Concert Hall, but I just have to tell you about the upcoming concert season. I mean, we've got the Travelers series coming up, we've got the Northern Lights series coming up, and we even have the Soundscape series coming up. Now, if that doesn't get you to the Bella Concert Hall, I'm not sure what will. But now I see if you don't make it to the concerts this season, shame on you. But don't worry, because next year, the season will be equally as wonderful. So head on down to the MRU events calendar, mark it off, and get your butt down there, because it's going to be great.
My role is to create the concert series that is being presented by the Mount Royal University Conservatory. So in 2016-2017, we did our inaugural season called Music to Your Ears. Music to Your Ears is a concert season that represents a really wide array of musical presentations. The goal, I think, was to find artists that reflected the interests and diversity of the immediate Mount Royal community, the surrounding area, and also the entire community of Calgary as a civic center. We have 6 different series within the Music to Your Ears concert season. My involvement in one particular concert is part of the Salon series, and the group that I'm performing with is the Calgary Creative Arts Ensemble. And it's a group that was formed in 2012, and it's essentially an ensemble that showcases the original compositions of Calgary musicians from the Calgary jazz community. So we sometimes play in the format of a large ensemble, like a big band, and sometimes we pare it down a little bit. So my role in the Calgary Creative Arts Ensemble is I'm one of the co-leaders. I play saxophone in the group. I have contributed compositions towards our repertoire that we perform. And so since the group's inception in 2012, we've brought the group to a variety of performance venues all across the city.
We have some of the top talent in Canada living here, right here in Calgary. So we're really excited to be presenting Cowtown Opera.
My name is Taylor Matheson. My role at Cowtown Opera, I am the social media manager. I got involved with Cowtown Opera because I actually went to high school with Michelle, who is our artistic director. I saw that she was starting up Cowtown Opera as a way to give local musicians a stepping stone between school and their professional careers, and also as a way to make opera more accessible for the average Calgarian who might not think that it's something that they'd like.
Okay, you're going to sing it for us all now!
Yeah! Well, this is actually my first time at the Bella. I've known about it, you know, in the news, and I've watched I've watched it being built. Yeah, I've seen pictures and I've heard marvelous things, but this is my first experience in the Bella, and I am blown away. It is stunning. It is a beautiful performance hall. It has wonderful facilities backstage for the performers. I really hope I get to come back and sing here again.
Well, every day that we come to work here at the Taylor Center, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to be in a great artistic environment, and the Bella kind of represents the pinnacle of that artistic experience.
Now, I hadn't heard of taiko drumming until very recently, and what I found out is that it's a traditional Japanese style of drumming that's usually used for religious or theater performances. And what's cool about taiko drumming is that it's being offered here at the MRU Conservatory, and it is the first non-North American style of drumming to be offered here. And I mean, in the classes, they're taking people 4 and up because, as we all know, music has no age limit.
The word taiko means drum in Japan, and in Japan the word taiko can refer to any type of drum. In North America, what we call taiko is actually referred to as wadaiko in Japan, which is ensemble drumming. So this is when we have drums of different sizes and different tones that play together in an ensemble, very similarly to how an orchestra would play with the different types of musical instruments. The taiko that we do at Mount Royal uses 2 different sizes of drums, and it's very energizing and very exciting. Taiko involves a lot of choreography, so there's lots of arm movements and different motions that the whole group would do together, more like a dance group than a drum circle. One thing about taiko that is different from traditional music is that it's a relatively new art form. Wadaiko, or taiko drumming ensemble as we know it, actually didn't exist before the 1950s. And taiko didn't come to Canada until the 1970s. Taiko is not traditionally taught using sheet music, so a lot of it's not written down, and it's taught verbally. So students have to learn orally. So every beat on the drum actually has a name, and I will say the names of the notes, and then the students just have to remember what I've said. Most people actually do not have any classical background. You don't need to have any musical training. You don't need to read sheet music. All you need to do is have a really positive attitude and a willingness and openness to try something that is new and maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone.
When I found out that this kind of taiko course was being offered, I jumped at the opportunity to do something different. Knowing that community music is out there for people like me that has a different day job, it's sort of fulfilling because it is something that you do for fun, and you get to meet a lot of different people from different walks of life, and you get together and you kind of share this experience of making music. When you go to a movie, when you hear a great soundtrack, or maybe the converse, if you go to a movie and the soundtrack actually cuts out and suddenly there's silence, you get a different feeling. So music in itself evokes emotion in people that you might not realize it, but to be actually make music with people is actually one of the greatest life experience I've ever had.
One of my favorite things about teaching a class like this class at Mount Royal is it brings together a group of people who normally would not have met. So here in our classes, we meet people from all walks of life. There are people who are, you know, IT people, secretaries. I'm a laboratory technician. There's people from all different walks of life. And the one thing that we do share is this desire to drum together.
お疲れ様でした。せーの。お疲れ様でした。Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Stay tuned because coming up next on MRU Music Showcase, a 91-year-old piano student. Now, I've been playing music nearly all my life, and one of the things that's taught me is that music has no age limit. I mean, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, you can go and pick up an instrument and just play because it's fun, and it's great for the soul and the mind. Especially as we get older, music is wonderful for keeping our minds sharp and active. I mean, look at Mary Fenwick. She's 91 years old, and here she is picking up the piano again after 40 years. I mean, it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, you can go and pick up an instrument and just start playing. I mean, it is so good for your mind and your soul.
Suppose the world don't please you, or the things some people do. Do you think the whole creation will be altered just for you? And isn't it, my boy or girl, the wisest, bravest plan? Whatever comes or doesn't come, just do the best you can. I was brought up in a family during the Depression that was nothing but joy. So I've had a life that, you know, it's been wonderful. Things go wrong and then they fix themselves. I say it feeds my soul. If playing it, learning it isn't hard, even though it's hard, well, it's hard, but Kathy is such a great teacher. What a teacher.
What I love absolutely the most about Mary is her infectious, positive attitude towards life. Even when you heard her talking about the Depression, she just sees everything in a very, very positive way, and I just find that absolutely amazing and something I think we're missing in today's world.
I think music does a number of things. It brings people together. And it brings people of all ages together so that it's encompassing. And it's beautiful, and it stops you in your tracks, and it makes you say, whew, pretty nice that I can hear that music.
You're doing the same thing as in the other piece where you're making it?
Yes.
Like a jazz piece, like you're swinging it and you're going da,
no.
da, da.
I love music. I think music, again, to quote Mary, is something that feeds our souls, and it's just such a nice counterbalance to all the other stresses and academics of nice. We all need arts in our lives.
The most exciting part is that I could play some of the pieces that I really like that I never thought I'd do. Some of the frightening things is when Kathy had me play Hark the Herald Angels singing in the Bella Hall. I was so nervous. It's an entirely different experience on the other side of the stage. But Jean-Louis, at the rehearsal, he took me in and he introduced me to the conductor and he introduced me to the youth orchestra. And he said, this is Mary Fenwick. She's going to be the soloist. And she's 91 years old. And the kids are going, whew. Well, I was very nervous. Then he took me up on the stage the night to play. All the orchestra was going, and I was laughing so hard I wasn't nervous. I said, well, I like a pianist that plays the piano with joy.
Don't play the G.
Okay.
Right. B flat, and then go into the A. And the D. Excellent. Very good. Very good. Okay. How many beats is that? Remember, what does that mean? How many beats in a bar?
What I'm finding is more and more as the years go by, although Mary may be my oldest student, I'm increasingly getting more and more adults interested in piano. People are just interested in really keeping the brain very, very active.
1 and 2. 1 and 2.
Well, it just keeps your mind in gear, that's all. And it gives you other challenges. If you live a life without challenges or without failures, you don't live. If you do something you haven't done for years, it'll stimulate your brain. So I thought, well, I haven't done music for years and years and years. So I phoned Kathy, I phoned the conservatory, and I said, do you have a piano teacher that would teach piano to a 90-year-old who hasn't played the piano for 40 years? And she said yes. Mount Royal is a university that does from beginning to end. I haven't got enough years to be a concert pianist, so I'm doing this for my soul, for joy. And it's been clear joy, it has. Even when I get it wrong, it's fun.
And 2.
My interest in broadcasting came from my interest in music. So I wanted to go to school for something that I know I would enjoy and put effort into. And I thought that the music industry and the broadcasting industry have a lot of similar, not only similar people, but similar skills are needed to succeed in both professions. So I think broadcasting was an easy choice for me just because I wanted to know more how radio and TV worked and getting how stuff gets shared with the world. When you go to a live performance and see another human being play an instrument or sing or something like that, and you feel so much more involved when you see it as a live performance. I know when I go see one of my favorite bands, I know I like them more when I leave, just because of the performance. Not only is it art and it's a performance, but you just get to experience the music that much more in a live performance. I mean, like anything, the music business is about making money, and I think there's a lot of artists and music being put out there that is all about making money, and so the music quality isn't quite as good. Performing on the stage at the Bella was pretty sweet. I mean, as a performer, it's cool to play on a stage like that in front of all those people, and especially in a room that conducts sound so easily. I think that it makes the performance better because you're so excited to be on the stage in the first place. Music is important to me because not only does it make me feel good, not only does it relieve stress for me, but I think music brings people together, and music, reading music and playing music makes you just a smarter, more involved person. Play music or listen to music, it makes you forget about your issues a little bit, or it makes you think inwardly and think about your issues and how to fix them maybe. And I just think that life without music would be pretty boring.
Can you imagine we did the rest of the set just like lounge music, like, hi, welcome. After hours.
Music has changed with the eras, and I think it's cool because music is a snapshot of of that time. You look at the 60s or the 70s, you know, you've got old rock and then you got disco stuff, and it's just cool, especially for someone like me that was born in the 90s. It's cool to see maybe kind of like what life was like, and I think it's a reflection of what people's lives were like. I mean, the beauty of music is that music's never going to ask you to pay attention to it. So if you, you know, even if you've got a really busy day job or you're just interested in other things, you can bring, the guitar is sitting there in the corner waiting for you to pick it up. So I mean, I just think that for someone that just wants to do it as a side thing, don't treat it as a chore, treat it as something that helps you out.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
You don't need to have any musical training. You don't need to read sheet music. All you need to do is have a really positive attitude and a willingness and openness to try something that is new and maybe a little bit outside your comfort zone.
Music in itself invokes emotion in people that you might not realize it, but to be actually make music with people is actually one of the greatest life experiences I've ever had.
It's just such a nice counterbalance to all the other stresses and academics of nice. We all need arts in our lives.
When they have that initial moment of just feeling like they're part of something that's so beautiful to look at and so awe-inspiring, really, it just makes everyone's day better.